my favorite ways to fish for crappies is actually getting rid of the bobber, using a light jig, putting a little piece of plastic on there. I'm using 1-inch Gulp Alive minnows right now, and it's real easy. Got a little bit of weight on there. This one I've actually caught about 20 crappies on, so I broke off a little bit already and re-put it back on so I don't have to get rid of one. I can catch a few more fish before I got to re-rig. All I'm doing is pitching this thing up against the weed edge, up against the pads, letting it sink, slowly reeling back. Fish hits it, that line's going to dart off, or sometimes bigger fish hit it and they come up with it, and you don't feel that, and you'll feel it when you go to reel and just hit them. There we go. I don't actually hit it on the way down. It reeled and let it sink, and it came up and smacked it. Fishing without a bobber can be a lot of fun because you're not waiting for that bobber to go down. You're constantly moving it. It's a lot like jig fishing for walleyes. Pretty much what I'm doing is just casting, letting it go down till it almost hits the bottom, or it does hit the bottom, and then just hopping it along till I get back to the boat. Along the edge of these weeds like this, if you're fishing on real thick pads, or if you get on the outside edge of a thick weed bed, ooh, that one popped it. I didn't get them. They'll stay real tight to that cover, and they don't want to come out more than about 8-9 feet. As you can see, my boat's actually almost in the pads, and I'm kind of at a diagonal fishing in these pads. That way I can get real close to them. You can kind of pick and poke if you get in closer with your boat into these lily pads. You get those fish that aren't out on the edge that way. You do the same thing with a bobber, but the bobber, you're set at one depth. A lot of times those fish will be down 6-7 feet, and if they're not going real good, they'll swim, you know, half a foot or a foot to grab something if it's right in front of them. But if they got to come up 3 feet when they're not going, you're not going to catch as many on a bobber as you would pitching a jig like this. This is a 16th ounce jig with a 1-inch Gulp Alive minnow on it. It's a chartreuse and white tail. Good color combo pretty much on any lake. I like the gray and whites that they make too. That one hit it again on the drop after I reeled a couple of feet and let it sink. It grabbed it, and a lot of times you're not going to be able to tell if that fish is on there because your line is still going down until you put some, you know, until you reel a little bit or you pull up on the tip of the rod, and then you feel the weight and just set the hook and reel them in. Catching them without a bobber would be a lot of fun. Bluegill. See, it's not just crappies you're going to catch doing this. You'll catch everything. All kinds of panfish. Largemouths really like this technique. I've caught a bunch of bass up to 20, 21 on a small outfit like this. Fishing with a little tiny jig and a tail. Most of those times it's on days where I fished for bass for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they just weren't going. Couldn't get them to hit anything big. And switched up to pitching something small like this, and immediately started catching them. So. Not bad. Caught a ton of these already tonight. Looking for a little bit bigger ones. A little bit nicer. But I'm a high to fight. Not bad.
I only got that grub off.
Being able to work the edge of these pads like this with a jig, you can move real fast as compared to maybe with a bobber where you're wasting a little bit of time with it sitting still. We had about a 40-yard gap in the pads there where there was hardly any crappies, and I was able to get down here, and it took maybe 8-9 minutes to work down the edge until we got into another good school of them, and almost every one of them has been really nice. These fish have been hitting it almost right when it hits the bottom. So there's the bottom right there. Oh, I had one on too. Three casts ago, I had a 36, 37 inch muskie come up and miss my crappie too. That was pretty insane. I figured he was going to push him out of here, but he obviously did not, because they're still hot and heavy in there. Really nice one. Andy. We've got enough fish. We got, I think last count was 12 in the live well. All we're feeding is my boys and I, so I don't need to keep any more. So now it's just casting and having fun.